Tam, it's great to have you on the show. How long, roughly, has the Scottish Libertarian Party been going?
The party first sort of got together in about 2012, but we didn't really register as a party until with the EC until 2016. So we've been pretty much registered and politically active since 2016.
And for what reason did you found this party, Tam? What are its fundamental principles?
Fundamental principles are free speech, free markets, and a free people. That's the key to a prosperous society. In Scotland, it seemed to me, at least, before I got involved with the Libertarians, I hadn't been politically active for around 15 years. I'd been politically agnostic. It seemed to me that whoever I voted for, I ended up with the government, and the government just put in place the same policies regardless of what hue, what colour they seemed to be. So we wanted to provide something different. We wanted to provide a party that actually cared about individual rights, individual liberties and individual responsibilities, as opposed to looking at people as just being pawns of government. Like most parties look at people as if, you're there to serve the state. We don't follow that principle. We think the state is there. If it exists at all, it's there to serve the individual.
And I understand, Tam, that you were a supporter of the SNP back in the day, or certainly pro a national independent Scotland.
Well, I'm pro-independence, not necessarily just Scottish independence. I'm pro-independence all the way down to the individual. But yeah, for my sins, I was a member of the Scottish National Party a long time ago, over 20 years ago now, maybe more, because I believed in independence. But the SNP have certainly not believed in independence, not since 1988, at least. That might surprise a lot of your viewers to know that. But they oppose independence. They opposed the UK leaving the EU, and they wish to hurry up and rejoin the EU as soon as they possibly can, if they get the chance. And that doesn't sound like any kind of independence to me. That sounds like the worst kind of dependence. If that's what you're into, that's fine. You can make a case for it, but please don't call it independence, because it's the opposite.
So your argument is that the SNP want to leave one political union, the UK, and join another, of course, run from a greater distance over in Brussels, the EU.
Yeah, apparently being one voice in 27 is an improvement in being one voice in 4, if you can follow that logic.
Now, Tam, tell me about this issue of freedom of speech, because, last time I checked, Scotland was a vibrant, open democracy and a thriving market economy on the watch of Nicola Sturgeon. Scotland is a successful, modern democracy. What's the problem?
No, the centralisation of power in Scotland, and this is not unique to Scotland, but it's very pronounced here. The centralisation in power of Scotland has become frightening. The SNP were already had a centralised grip on power in Scotland before this COVID situation. This has simply added grist to their mill, and now they've steadily, tightened their grip on power. There's very little democracy out in the sort of council areas. It's all centralised. The Scottish central government, Holyrood, calls the shots, and basically it's dominated by the SNP and its Parks and Gardens department, the Green Party.
And what about free speech in Scotland? You've got strong views on that one.
Yeah, well, free speech in Scotland has been under assault. We now have the Hate Crime and Public Order bill enacted in Scotland, which means that you can be technically arrested for what you say within the confines of your own home. Someone's at a dinner party at your house and they overhear you saying something that offends them or they think might offend somebody else, then they can report you to the police, and the police now have duty to investigate that as a hate crime. You can be investigated for what literature that you have in your own home. If you have a copy of Mein Kampf or you have a copy of the Anarchist's Cookbook,
or Jeffrey Archer, maybe.
Well, maybe that's the limits of my free speech.
J.K. Rowling.
I don't know. Yeah, well, definitely, I did. J.K. Rowling's definitely on the dirt list at the moment. So yeah, you could. We're laughing, but it's absolutely possible that you could be dobbed into the police for having a copy of Harry Potter in your house.
Deeply concerning. And so, Tam, what are your ambitions politically, and what kind of Scotland would you like to see?
I would like to see a Scotland that is completely free, where individuals can speak their mind, can go about their business without interference, needless interference from government, which is pretty much any interference from government is usually needless interference. I would like to see businesses thrive, a free and open economy, zero tariffs. When we talk about having free ports in Scotland, I would like to see Scotland, the entirety of Scotland, be a free port with no tariffs, so that people can do business easily with whomsoever they choose, as long as you're not hurting anybody or interfering with their right to do the same. So that's the kind of Scotland I would like to see. Individual rights and liberties are more important to us as a party than what the SNP would like to dress up as independence. So independence right down to the individual.
And Tam, you, I think, are a rare beast. Forgive me if I'm putting words in your mouth, but you seem to be somebody that's pro-Scottish independence, but politically to the right. Is that a fair characterisation?
Well, if you think of libertarianism as being a sort of a right-wing concept, we're certainly to the right of the Conservatives on a lot of things. Certainly economically, we're way to the right of anything that the Conservatives are into. But when it comes to civil liberties, we could arguably be way to the left of the socialists on that. When it comes to anti-war, we're certainly way to the left of the socialists. We're already against the next war, So yeah, in some areas, certainly economically, would be regarded as right. But yeah, I have no time whatsoever for socialism or anything remotely resembling it. I think it's harmful for people.
Don't think you've got too much time for Mrs. Sturgeon's COVID measures. Would you like to have seen the lighter touch that we've seen in England from the Prime Minister Boris Johnson? Of course, Freedom Day on the 31st of July of last year.
Well, I don't have a lot of time for the way Boris Johnson's handled it either. I think, I'm giving Nicola Sturgeon a shellacking quite rightly here, but Boris ain't no libertarian either. However, certainly his response to the Omicron situation has been preferable, way preferable to the way that Nicola Sturgeon or her counterpart in Wales, Mark Drakeford, has handled the situation. Well, they haven't handled it at all. They've mishandled it. And there's no justification, in my view, at least, and in my party's view, for the way that they've mishandled this situation. I spent my Hogmanay in London and enjoyed it and enjoyed the freedom. Yeah,
you were very welcome.
Exactly,
I'm glad you brought your hard-earned.
Well done to the Crown and Cushion in Lambeth for a good
Crown and Cushion. There you go. Well, that sounds like an excellent watering hole. Tam, look, the clock's against us. I don't want this to be a Nicola Sturgeon bashing session.
Sure.
The bottom. Speak for yourself. But just briefly, I mean, this is a politician that is very, very popular, and the SNP always achieve a barnstorming majority at every election. So in the end, most Scottish voters back this woman.
Well, no, actually, only if you look at the figures, 23.62% of the Scottish electorate voted or the Scottish people voted for Nicola Sturgeon, which under the D'Hondt system, under this system that very few of us actually understand in Scotland for electing Scottish MSPs, that's returned them a 49.61% sort of representative power in the Scottish Parliament. So it's way out of disproportion to actually, their actual support. Unfortunately, we don't have much in the way of an opposition either. The Conservatives are feeble. Scottish Labour no longer really exists because the SNP are de facto Scottish Labour Party now. So it's not quite as simple as everybody, likes the SNP, but she is staggeringly popular with her own followers and almost has a cult-like following. And unfortunately, that doesn't seem as if it's going to end anytime soon. The only way she's going to leave office is if she's either burnt out, dragged out, or voted out. Take your pick. She ain't going to resign anytime soon. So you can keep that hashtag up if you like. It's tedious and it's not going to work, not anytime soon. Unfortunately, I would like to tell you differently.